All right, and hello everybody, I'm the Sweeper27 and welcome to another Dokkan battle video. Now before we get started, I have a very big announcement to make. This Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my Twitch, I will be going live and I have a huge announcement that is going to change the course of my Twitch career as well as my YouTube career as well. So I would really appreciate it. I will have a link in the description to my Twitch channel. It's in the description of every video that I have, but it would mean the absolute world to me if you could clear out some time in your schedule. Again, that is 8 p.m. EST on twitch.tv/@thesweeper27. I would really appreciate to see you guys there. All right, but this is the video for all of the intensifying missions for the Babidi Gang Red Zone. So I tried for a while to just have one single team to be able to do all of these missions, but it didn't really pan out that way. I had to do two separate runs with two separate teams. So all the stipulations that we had to do is have 6 Kamehameha, 6 Majin Buu Saga, beat it within 6 turns with one of every type, and then beat it within 7 turns without using any items. So on this first team, this is obviously our Majin Buu Saga attempt, and it was actually really easy by separating the two categories. It really wasn't too difficult to beat it with just one of every type. That's a very common mission that they do for a lot of these things. There's a lot of type diversity within these teams, and even if you have like one really weak or fraudulent character, you can still hide them, you know, if the rest of your team is very solid. And right now, Majin Buu Saga is in a phenomenal spot, and so is Kamehameha. It's actually in a very good spot. Kamehameha is just a vast category. It has characters. I guess I won't go into too much spoiler territory, but we'll see some like familiar faces as well, some old classics that we have from years past or what have you. But I do enjoy these events because it is one of the best ways for us to get the Link skill orbs, because there's really, as of right now, not two great ways to get it. There is that once a week event, but even still, you get like 3 purple orbs and maybe like a couple of blue ones at best. I don't even think you can get the rainbow orbs from that, or if you can, it just is a super low spawn chance. You can also like buy them, and I've bought many a packs of them because they're relatively cheap in the shop, and I'm someone who likes to play this game very seriously. I'm almost at 200 Link level 10 characters. I have right now, I think, like 15 characters that I can use Link level keys on, and they will be at fully maximum right there as well. So I'm just sending out a lot of potential things to get done, so that's very exciting. So that's why I like doing these, as well as you do get some free stones out of them as well, which is something that is always nice, and you do also get a sticker by completing all the missions. Now, I know in the title it says that I did complete all the missions, but I actually already beat one of the missions prior, and I made a separate video for it that was more of a guide video as opposed to just me reacting to my run. So go check out that video if you were struggling to beat this event with 5 int units and beating it within 7 turns. That was a little bit tricky, but both for my JP and my global players, there's a super simple trick that you can do that doesn't really make it too difficult at all. So again, there's really not too much to commentate about. This red zone, it has a lot of tricks up its sleeve, but none of the tricks are too powerful because they're all separate. So the opening phase, right, you have to go up against Spopovich and Yamu. And Yamu will deal 10% of your HP at the start of every single turn, which isn't really too tricky because both of those units can't really do a lot of damage to you in return. I mean, they can maybe catch you off guard if you have a weak character in slot 1 or something and you get tagged by that super, but it's really not too terrible. If worse comes to worse, you eat a super, it's not like they're doing 1.5 million or anything. Then you go into the next phase where you have the domain, which actually constantly increases the power of only Dokkan. As far as I am aware from everything that I've seen, Pui does not actually get any buffs from the domain effect that is in stage 2. It is only Yamu. And to counteract that, you're actually able to stun, not Yamu, why am I saying Yamu? What is his name? Dokkan. There we go, Dokkan. I don't know why I was completely blanking out on my brain there for a second, but Dokkan is actually able to be stunned and sealed. So that's kind of how you counter that little ability right there. So if you are struggling with that, it's a real simple solution. All you got to do is bring a stunning character, and all of these categories that we will be using today have a lot of various stunners as well as various sealers. So it really isn't too much of a problem right there. So normally you want to get rid of him first, and then you can tackle on Pui. And then you can go on from there. On the third stage, Dabura has an ability where he actually gets increased damage and defense as long as Babidi is alive. I would actually say that that is the trickiest stage. This Majin Buu right here at the end isn't necessarily too difficult, but having someone who does way more damage is not very ideal, especially since he actually has a stun on his super attack effect. And I find a lot of the times he does super in slot 1, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that he supers before you get to super. So since you do have to beat these missions within X amount of turns, beating within 6 turns or 7 turns, getting stunned in slot 1 with a very powerful character is very not ideal. It can pretty much, if you do get stunned, that's a dead run. I would say it would be a miracle if you did get stunned in slot 1 and you were still able to beat this within the 6 or 7 turn restrictions. It's not necessarily impossible. So there are plenty of characters that could theoretically still do it because they have very powerful active skills or very powerful standbys, or mayhaps you even have like a revive that you can bring out of your like back pocket. I don't know. There are things you could theoretically do to still ultimately get a dub. And then that final phase, the Majin Buu and Babidi, their gimmick isn't really necessarily too out there. They just create candies. Now, the tricky thing about creating candies is that on every other turn, they create a different type of candy. So it's one thing if they made just like the same type of candy every single turn, because then you would be able to collect them all. They create a mass amount of clutter because you have the ones that are chocolate bars, you have the ones that have like Boo's face on them, you have the ones that are actually just little candies, and if you're not able to clear them out very efficiently, then you just have them everywhere, and it's going to be very difficult for pretty much any of your characters to get orbs, and that is like the trickiest thing that can happen. I would say that's a much bigger deal in the Super Buu red zone as opposed to the Babidi's gang red zone, because at that point it's already at the end. And you're kind of going to be able to destroy the character very, very quickly. So as you can see here, we are going over the kits of all the characters that we used. So this is, if you want to copy my strategy, feel free. There are plenty of other options that you are able to do this with. And now we are using the Kamehameha team. So now going into the Kamehameha team, as you can see, we do have some familiar faces that we are using, but we have subbed in a couple of new characters. We're bringing some characters from the Worldwide Download Celebration, and we're bringing the Vegito who EZA'd during the 8-year anniversary. That is the, what year? They were the 5th year anniversaries, I think, him and the blue Gogeta. Now, obviously, I'm bringing him, that way they have their intros activated and we can do a little bit of extra stuff there. This really, again, isn't necessarily too difficult. We get to bring in characters like Exchange Majin Buu instead of Tech Ultimate Gohan, both of whom are like very good offensively and defensively. Obviously, I think Tech Buu at the start is going to be more impressive offensively since he's not a character who has to stack, but as we saw there towards the end, Tech Ultimate Gohan was able to get to some pretty impressive attack stats, especially if he does get like the quad super turn, which I don't think we got to see any in that prior run, but it is something that can definitely be done, and he can, again, get to some very impressive numbers, especially if we're able to transform him. There was a little bit of struggle on this run, however, I will say, because we are running some characters who aren't really up to snuff anymore. Like, I'm not a huge fan anymore of the AGL Vegito. He is a character who, like, obviously I run him a lot just because he's better than a lot of other characters that I have, but he does have very glaring flaws, and he doesn't really have a good spot in these kind of metas right now. Right now, we're in a meta where it's, like, not super long, but it's not short, if that makes sense. Like, the Fusion Zamasu meta, like, obviously, you would be, the first 4 turns was the hardest part of that event. You got past that, you pretty much won the fight once you got to, like, the physical phase, meaning that even if you kind of ran out of your standby at that point, you would potentially still be able to transform. It's not a huge deal necessarily, because you really needed their guard to be activated during like the AoE turns and stuff like that. Now we're like in this event, like right now, like these fights are going easily to turn 6, turn 7 before we're able to beat Buu and Babidi. The same thing goes with like the LR Super Buu red zone. That event goes on for a very long time. And then the AoE is at the end, meaning that if you don't have that guard, you got to rely on a 50% chance to dodge, and that can be super scary. And as you saw, that we actually took a lot of damage on that turn. It was like accumulation of multiple characters that were kind of not doing necessarily what they need to do. Buhan, before he's able to super, he can go into slot 1. Mine is only 69%, so he's not like a defensive god as like some people would probably recognize him as. It was the same deal with like my Tech Ultimate Gohan, who is 79%. Just missing that little bit of off and being Rainbow status really does make a big difference on these super defensive oriented characters. So we did take a lot of damage, which is actually not too terrible, because we have a lot of healing characters on this team, as well as we do obviously have AGL Vegito and STR Vegito, who both have to be under a certain HP threshold for us to be able to do their active skills to transform. And we do actually get a transformation during this run. So, right now, as you can see, we have the AGL Vegito transforming. So he has guaranteed dodge, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. I really wanted on this turn because, again, I didn't necessarily know if I beat the turn restriction or not. When I was doing these runs, I knew I wanted to do them back to back, but I really wasn't paying too close attention at the time. So in the back of my brain, I'm like, well, I still need to maybe beat this guy within 6 turns. So getting stunned in slot 1 would be the absolute worst nightmare that could happen. So we're going to try to rotate everything around so we can get STR Vegito in slot 1. That way he can dodge any supers. That means we don't have to miss out on any damage, and we can go through this as quickly as possible and still get that potential dub, just in case the other run we were not quick enough, but we obviously we were. Just by doing these missions, we were just getting that the mission for doing it with Kamehameha. As you can see here, we're actually doing some very good damage. Now, unfortunately, we don't actually kill on this turn. Buhan did not get enough offensive stacks prior to transforming. Not to mention, he doesn't have any of his good links. Like, he doesn't have big bad bosses. He doesn't have any of like his Majin links, which is kind of a shame because he launches a bunch of additionals here. He does have type advantage. I don't know. Again, it's just because he is 69%, obviously, at rainbow status. This would be a completely different story. He pretty much would have finished Babidi off probably in just 2 to 3 supers, but as it was, at least we were able to transform into not Majin Vegeta, into STR Vegito right here. That way we have the Scouter pretty much for the rest of the fight. Not that it's really going to matter. At this point, pretty much any character can go into slot 1 and pretty reliably tank a super. I mean, obviously not like Tech Vegito, but we would never be putting him in slot 1 anyway. So that is him destroyed right there. We're entering this final phase, and as we enter this final phase, it's pretty much a guaranteed dub. We don't win on this turn. We do actually win on the next turn, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my commentary here because there's really not much else to really say. So if you want to see the end of the run, I will fast forward the footage. That way you can see the kits for all these characters, and then I will go to the missions tab. That way you can see that I claimed all the missions as well. But yeah, that is going to be all for this time, guys. I've been the Sweeper27. I'm a variety Twitch streamer and an up-and-coming YouTuber trying to make it big in the world. I have a Twitter, a Twitch, a TikTok, and a YouTube, the links to which can all be found in the description of this video. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, share me around, and leave me a comment, positive, negative, or indifferent. I would just love any sort of interaction I can get from you guys. And again, please do not forget, this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be going live on my Twitch, and I will be showing off something that is super exciting, and I really want all of you guys to be there to witness it as it debuts. So yeah, please make time in your schedule, and I hope to see you there. But yeah, that is going to be all for this time, guys. So as always, I've been the Sweeper27, and I am signing off.